This is David for Big Bits, and it's kind of late where I'm at, so I'm going to be discussing some indicators and some other stuff like that. I've got some code pulled up on some stuff I'm working on, and yeah, I'll pull up a chart in just a moment, but it has been a interesting night tonight as the price of Bitcoin and a lot of other crypto stuff has just, yeah, for the most part crashed. But interestingly enough, it held up on 100 and 200 day moving averages. Bounced from there pretty cleanly, honestly. And it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. There's a lot of momentum heading down on pretty much every indicator right now. So it's going to be interesting. We might have a sale on Bitcoin on the day of the halving, which would be pretty cool, honestly. I was kind of planning on buying some that day just to kind of celebrate anyway, so I'll take it. Now, if you all have any questions, just leave a comment or use the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on that occasionally, but I'm not always the best at doing that when I'm doing some code in here. Yeah, here's the halving countdown. Let's see, we're about 47 hours away now. That's pretty awesome. So we're getting pretty close. Oh man, I gotta figure out what we're gonna do here. So we just published the fancy Bollinger Bands indicator, and I need to turn off some of these alerts. Yeah, so this is the one we just published. I've got some things I'd like to add to it. I might do some of that now, and before I get into some of the other things that I've got going on. But yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Now the music is on in the background, so I don't feel like I have to talk all the time. But if you have any questions, of course, just ask in the chat. Doing a lot here right now. Guys, I see there's a few of y'all on here. If you're new, just you can check out the other content. But this is kind of stuff I do. Work on creating indicators and tutorials here on TradingView. And there's a couple more settings I want to add to this indicator. It's got quite a bit. Let me go through and add a few more. What's up, Fred? Said I might be a little late to read the chat. It's on the other screen. But if y'all have any questions or anything, want to see anything, just let me know. So we'll be adding a few things here. The first thing I'm going to be doing is adding an option to just use a basic fill instead of this gradient. You can see it changes colors between the bands, so I'm just going to make it to where it's actually going to show just a single color for the solid background fill. Now I do have it set to where you can hide the entire fill, but it kind of looks weird with just the bands, so I wanted to have a basic gradient in there as well. So we'll have to actually add another parameter on here for this particular setting on the color functions. Now by default, it's first going to check to see if either the colors should be hidden and return a completely transparent film. That's still going to have to be priority, but after that, we can now, instead of start looking for the gradient colors, we can actually check to use if we are using our basic, and if we are, then we can return something like that, except I'm going to use something a little bit transparent. I don't want a full color in there. Well, that's pretty much all the code we need. I just need to go find the color that we're going to use in hexadecimal value. Am I using self-made indicators? Well, this indicator is just kind of like Bollinger Bands, except I've added like 30 features to it. I did another video about it on my channel, so if you want to check out and see like all the features to it, you can. Otherwise, you can check out the TradingView profile. Tons of settings. You can change like the moving average, the deviation, the look back period, resolution. There's just all kinds of stuff on this one, but it's basically just Bollinger Bands, and I'm adding more settings on top of it. Basically just trying to make an indicator that is very robust and flexible. So if you want like Bollinger Bands, but you need something slightly unique, you know, this indicator might be able to do it because it's going to have tons of options, and it'll allow you to actually customize your bands quite a bit. Now, is there a way to bridge strategy to paper trading? Yes. You have to connect to the paper trading brokerage. Let me save this code real quick. Hopefully it'll actually, no, it won't let me do that. I have to have the hex color, but let's go back to trading panel. You'll need to connect to this paper trading brokerage here, and that will actually allow you to do paper trading with your strategy that you have on there. And I actually want to get rid of that one. Of course, the one time I wanted to actually use this particular strategy, it hits the stop loss, of course, but it's typically a pretty good one. It's just kind of unfortunate that it lost today. I'm going to take that off so we can just focus on this one. Hopefully that answers your question, man. Alright, let's search for the gradient framework where we have all the colors and stuff. That is Pine Coders. Yep, they have the lovely gradient functions that I borrowed here for this particular indicator. I just need to find a nice blue color. Aqua. I did that. I think I'm gonna try this one. Pretty sure that's a pretty low value. Now, where we actually call these functions, we need to pass this new parameter in, which, because it's just an input, is super easy. Let's see. I think it's gonna work. Yep, okay. So we just added that basic fill option so you can kind of get rid of the gradient. And let's go and try that one out. Yeah, there it is. It's still really bright though, so I need to go back and find one that's a little bit more transparent. In fact, I'll probably just copy from some of the other values I've got here. So let's pull that back up. This is the alpha value here at the end, so if I replace that with one of these, we should be good. The strongest I use is a 35, so we'll use that on the inclusion area, which is where the bands are brighter, and we will use one of the weaker ones, let's say 10. Wait, no, I need to follow up with this. So that's the brightest there. I want to use the brightest on this one, which is actually just a 9. Time to try this one out. Okay, much better. This actually kind of looks decent. So there we go. We've gotten rid of the gradient with a setting to use a basic fill color. So that's pretty cool. And then we can just, of course, uncheck that. And we're back to the regular gradient. And we can also hide it as well, which should override this one. Perfect. That setting worked amazingly well. So there's another couple of settings that I wanted to add. I needed to separate the upper and lower deviation. That way you can have a custom deviation multiplier for an upper band and also a custom deviation for the lower band. That way, you know, if you were a little bit more aggressive on buying or selling based on the band deviation on either side, you can customize that as well. By default, it's got it set to where you'll always use the same on the upper and lower, and we're actually going to change that to where we are going to use something different. So where is the deviation value? And I also need to change its step size as well. Multiplier. Okay, so I'm going to call that the upper band multiplier, and we're going to have to actually do a little bit of work and change some of the other stuff. It's going to be 2 by default. The max value is 50. I need to set the step size equal to 0.25. That should work. You can always type in a custom value anyway. And we're just going to copy that and make one for the lower band. Alright, let's go down to our calculation where we are determining the actual values for those bands. And what was the name that I gave those? Okay. I think this is going to be the easiest thing that I'm going to do tonight. Okay, so let's try to customize either side here. So we want an upper band deviation of 3. Okay. Did that not do what I wanted? Perhaps. Okay, I think what I need to do is check the value before I change it. Okay, so pull up the data window. Excellent. So zoom in Let's actually do a 1 minute chart. Use this one with a nice wick so it's easy to identify. Our upper band, 87.32. Let's drop the step size down, or drop it down with the step size to 2. So it did go down. Alright. Make sure that the lower band didn't change on that. So it's 86.37. That actually did change it. That does not seem like it should happen. So I can only imagine that that variable is being used elsewhere. Ah! Now, I obviously know nobody's watching because I should have pointed that one out pretty quickly. That was a pretty obvious mistake. Okay, so now the upper band should go up by itself. Okay, perfect. We've got a huge upper band. Let's also check our lower band to make it bigger. Go. Make it huge. Okay. So that looks like it's actually throwing off the gradient fill as well. Huh. So I need to update the gradient fill calculation. Wonderful. Now we use this function for it, and we're passing in percentage %B. Well, no, this is how I meant for it to occur because I wanted it to use %B. If somebody decides they want to have that updated, I'll change it, but I doubt too many people are going to use bands like this. Alright, so let's reset it. This actually works. This is coming along nicely here. Okay, so we're going to do something I have not seen before, and I don't look for these sorts of things. So we're actually going to be smoothing the upper and lower bands. So the middle band is already smooth, but the upper band is, and the lower bands are really jagged, and I don't like that. So I'm going to allow the smoothing of the upper and lower bands. And what we're going to do, we are going to take some of these options. So we have the middle band period and the middle band type. We're going to be taking the type and period options from this particular from the middle band section of the indicator, and we are going to apply that to the upper and also the lower band, and we are going to set the band, or the smoothing period, on both of them to 1. That way there really shouldn't be any difference, and the type also to a smooth moving average, or a simple moving average, excuse me, so that it is the exact same value by default when you load it as it is normally. But if you were to change the look back period, it would smooth it based on the SMA. So it's actually pretty simple to do, I think. And that's, obviously famous last words. And let's actually go to try it out. I need a couple of settings. Got our periods there. There's our upper and lower band. I want these to be the farthest down settings there are, because I really don't think these are going to be used much. Said we'd set that to 1. This would be SMA. Okay, so we have an upper band smoothing period, an upper band smoothing MA type. That's perfect. Now I just got to copy, paste this, and remember to replace it this time, where I did not do that before. Omar, how long have I been programming in Pine, and how many hours per day? When it comes to Pine, I have been programming with Pine for a few years, but really I didn't program very much with Pine until about a year ago or two, and even then it's been off and on. But here recently, since I started doing the tutorial videos and publishing some of these scripts that I've been doing, it's been a lot more. To put a number on it, it's hard to say. On any given week here in the last several months, probably 5 to 6 hours a week maybe worth of programming. And it seems to be kind of going up as the channel gets a little bit more popular and people kind of want more content. I've actually talked to the TradingView account on Twitter, and which also was their CTO, Constantine, I believe his name was. It was a pretty cool conversation. I'd like to do some streaming stuff for them. They've invited me on their platform to stream some on there, kind of do some educational stuff with Pine. Whoops. But yeah, as far as the time investment, not too much right now, 5 to 6 hours a week. But I've been programming since I was, let's say, like a freshman or a sophomore in college. That is now a long time ago, like 16 years ago. But I wasn't really a software engineer. I didn't go to school to become a software engineer. I just kind of programmed for fun. Just like 7 years ago now, I became a software engineer. I just kind of transitioned into that role. A lot of people don't realize I actually have a master's degree in information systems. So I spent a lot of time doing education, and a lot of my work focused on project management. And one of the things I really like about doing the YouTube channel and publishing these scripts and stuff is that I get to do kind of what I want. When you're at a day job, you kind of have to fill the requirements of other people. And when you're coding something that you like and you're in charge of the project, it makes it a little bit easier to work with, and you kind of want to do it more, honestly. I'm much less likely to want to work on a work project after hours as opposed to something that I actually want to do for myself. So that's kind of what this stuff's about. Alright, now I need to actually calculate these values. Where do I calculate those bands? Okay, so now we will actually have to call the MA function on this calculated value for the upper band. I believe that'll work. Okay, so I actually do that here. That is the MA function. So we are going to be replacing the source. Well, actually, no, that's fine. We'll just replace the source and see if that works out correctly. No, I don't think that's going to work. So we're actually going to have to do two different values here. We're going to create a smooth upper band, and it's going to be calling that function, and a smooth lower band, which is going to call that function. And we're just going to replace what's being plotted with the smooth upper band, because if it is the default one setting, which isn't smooth at all, then it's going to be the same thing as the upper band. Plus, now we'll have the data from the original and the new one available to us if we need it, instead of just having it all kind of locked in the function there. Alright, so where was that? Okay. MA, and this was MA type. What did I save that as? Upper band smoothing MA type. Okay, now we're going to put our source, which is going to be the upper band for this one. And finally our period, which is going to be the upper band smoothing period. And to keep things consistent, I want to add that in there. Excellent, and now we can just copy and paste that and replace upper with lower, and we'll be good. Oh, other than actually using the new ones down here. So these are the bands. Where am I plotting these bands at? Am I missing something? Okay, upper plot. Okay. So we're going to be using the smoothed upper band instead of the upper band. Now, this one doesn't say smoothed upper band because this is the offset and we need that to stay the same. Oh man. Let's see. Then we're going to take our smoothed lower band and save this as well. I think that's going to do it. Okay, so it worked. Now to actually check to see if it's going to function the way I behaved. So what I have done, if you don't remember or you weren't here when that happened, I am adding an option into this indicator for Bollinger Bands to smooth the upper and lower bands so that you don't have these jagged movements, and we'll see how that actually works out. All we have to do is just increase the smoothing period, and we'll do this on the upper band first. Let's change it from a 1 to an 8. Haha, it worked. It smoothed it nicely. Now that is pretty cool. Yeah, I can already see some patterns in here that I'd like. Wow. Oh my goodness. the, the upper and lower band crossed because they were smooth. That is amazing. I didn't think that would happen. But yeah, now that I think about it, it's entirely possible. Wow. It's probably not going to happen a lot, especially if you're using small numbers here. Let's switch this back to like 13. I really like this. This is cool. Switch it out to a daily chart, see if it actually makes any sense anywhere. Not really. It's just kind of funny seeing smooth upper and lower bands. I've never tried it before. Let's actually smooth it a little bit more. Let's do 21. Wow. Look how narrow those bands are from the middle to the upper band. Oh my goodness, and here as well. This is hilarious. Let me use a double exponential moving average and let's smooth out 50. We'll see how silly this looks. Oh wow. That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm not sure when this is actually going to be useful, but that's kind of part of the reason I'm making this indicator, so that people can actually play around with these things and find what they need to do. And if you have any questions, please just ask in the chat, and I'll try and get around to that. I've been doing this now for a little while on the stream here. Let's see, how long is this one going? We've only been going 40 minutes. That's not too bad. I don't know how long I'm going to do this for. If there's anything anyone would like to see, just let me know. But I think this is all the options I wanted to add to this one. I'm going to wait to publish what I've got. And I'll probably publish it Monday with a video where I'm going, well, I might publish it tomorrow with a video tomorrow, but I have another video coming up Monday. I haven't recorded yet, but I'm going to be publishing some software. Well, maybe not publishing it Monday, but I'm going to be announcing this open source code that I've done. And actually, let me pull that up. Alright, so I've been working on this application, and now that we're plenty far enough into the live stream, I can show you. People who just browse by aren't going to see this, but for those of you who actually watch, I'll let you see it before. Hopefully it'll actually load up. Okay, so I've seen people with trading bots that look kind of like this. You know, they got their menu, and they've got a browser in there to where you can capture alerts from TradingView. Well, I like that idea because I've had a lot of requests from people to capture alerts from TradingView, and I can do that with this. I don't have any in here yet. I've cleared my data out, and I don't really feel like running it right now. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be capturing alerts from TradingView. Now, this isn't actually going to be its own trading bot, at least not yet. I'd like to start with some other things first. What I'm going to be doing first, there is going to be social media. So we are going to be capturing TradingView alerts and posting to social media. And I've actually done this already, and if you've followed me or you've been on the Discord, you would have seen these. Let me see. I can actually show you. So this is kind of what it does. it'll post information from the alert. And all of this information was in the TradingView alert, and it scraped that information from the alert. This isn't, I would say I haven't seen one like this, to where you can put in whatever information you want in the TradingView alert and then spit it back out somewhere else. So let me actually show you what I mean by that. So you'll see things like the signal here, the symbol, and some of this other information, including the chart URL and a note. I'll show you what I mean. Let's pull up the software again. So on my alerts, it's actually kind of hard to see there. Let me pull it up on actual TradingView. On my alerts, you can see this one. I've got some code in here. It's kind of like XML, HTML. Essentially, it's just managed elements, and we can pass whatever information we want from that utility, from this alert into the utility, and it will parse that data out and actually save it and, well, crap, what did I do? It'll actually repurpose the data and send it back out on social media for you. And that's the original intent of it, is to kind of just share your alerts. You can essentially create this to be your own bot for your social media and your trading alerts. So you can tag somebody in it. You can do all sorts of stuff. And like I said, I have it set up for Twitter and Discord right now. I'm working on Telegram, among a few others. I've got a list of them on the GitHub page. I'll go over all that in the video when I get around to recording it. You can see there's quite a bit going on here, and it did post the screenshot. You'll notice that. So there are alert settings. You can customize the name of your bot. So when you post it, when it posts for you on Twitter or Discord, it'll have its own bot name. Plus, when you use this or you change this, it will actually change the root element of your bot. So if you're like me and you're sharing your screen, it's actually going to change this element to whatever you have in here, but in lowercase. So if you want a custom element, you can do that. Some of the other customized stuff, you can also get a Windows notification when you get alerts. You can customize your own referral URL, your own disclaimer text, and of course you have to enable tweets and Discord messages on alerts. Screenshots, it'll take a screenshot using a built-in browser. It's based on Chromium. So what it's going to do is it's going to run an instance of Chrome in the background and go to the URL that you pass through in one of the URL elements in your bot alert, and it'll take a screenshot. So you can actually crop the image, and the crop start point and the crop size is here. So these numbers are set up to where when you load up TradingView on a 1080p resolution, it'll take a nice screenshot of just the chart and none of this side panel stuff or the left side navigation, and that's by default. And of course, I have a watermark image on there, but I've got it disabled for now because I want people to be able to use their own watermark image. And yes, this is going to be free, completely open source. I'm just doing it because it's going to be a fun project for me. Now, I do have it set up to where I can potentially make some money with it on the side, and I've got some other ideas in the future for how I can utilize this in other ways to potentially make some money on it, because I am putting a lot of work into it. Maybe I'll get around to that one day. But you can see our Discord settings. You put in your token, your server ID, channel ID, and some other information. There's some other options. Twitter settings, very similar. If you set up a Twitter bot, you'll have all of this information, and you can also choose whether or not you want to put your screenshot in this particular alert as well on Twitter. It's all pretty cool. The test buttons work. It'll post something to your Twitter or your Discord just to make sure your tokens are working. It's pretty cool. I've put my YouTube videos in here as well. So I've got the PineScript tutorial series, and the indicators explained. And this is the referrals page on my website. So whenever it loads, there you go. That's my website, and it's got the referrals page, and then the shop is just the e-commerce merchandise section of the website, and this is just a drop ship printing service. So I'm not really trying to push this stuff when I push this out there, but if somebody wants to contribute to me instead of just sending me crypto or using the referrals, if they actually want to get something for the money that they give out, they can do that. But those are pretty much the only ways I'm going to try and get any money from it. And I know it sounds kind of stupid trying to get any money from it, because it's a pretty simple idea. Take an alert and allow anyone to make their own like social media bot out of it, but it's actually going to be more than that. We are going to be doing something called memory mapped files, and what we're going to be doing is we are going to be creating a local file that stores all of the most recent alerts in it. And what that's going to do is that is going to allow other local applications, other client applications on your computer, to be able to detect the alerts from this application. So think of it kind of like a webhook, but for a local application. So your application gets an alert from TradingView, and say you have another app on your computer that you program, or somebody else programs, that wants to access these alerts, they can just access that memory map file and get that data. So there are client-side bots that this might be useful for. I forget the names of them, but there are like Python-based bots out there that maybe they can access those memory mapped files, and they could get the data that they need from there. So that's one thing. Oh, and another thing, I haven't seen this anywhere yet, but the stock screener. I have figured out a way to basically create alerts with the stock screener page. So what I'm doing is I'm constantly checking to see all of the stocks that are loaded on the page. And this will go for all of the screeners as well, not just stocks, but Forex and crypto. But I'm running a scanner essentially here that checks to see all of the tickers that are loaded with the screener. So you apply your filters on here on TradingView, and it'll see all of them on here. And then if anything changes, it can create an alert to say, hey, your stock screener picked up a new ticker, and this is the ticker, or picked up multiple tickers, and these are all of the tickers that it picked up. So there's a lot of stuff that'll be coming there. Yeah, so it'll allow you to share those alerts. But what good is sharing your stock screener alerts or whatever if you can't really do anything with it? One thing that TradingView does really good, well, that they've added recently, which is really good, is and let me pull it up here, the ability to send a webhook. Now, I am going to set up this application to also send webhooks based on these alerts. But why would you use webhooks with this application as opposed to just using the webhooks on TradingView? Well, first of all, TradingView doesn't really have the kind of alerts that I'm going to set up on the screeners, so we'll replace that. But we can kind of do a lot more than TradingView does. Say what you're doing here, you're sending out one webhook, and say you're using this to trigger an action on a bot somewhere, like a web-based trading bot. Well, you send this out, and your bot picks it up and does what it's supposed to do, but you're limited to the one URL. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you to do essentially unlimited webhooks with every single alert. So you're going to get an alert, and you can set this up in alert settings for your webhooks, and you're going to be able to add as many webhooks as you want for an alert. That way, if you're trading with 10 different bots, or you want it to trigger multiple webhooks for whatever reason, you can do that. So it kind of is going to extend upon that somewhat. But yeah, it's pretty neat what we're going to be doing to start off with. It's going to be a pretty fun project, I think. And I'd like to also design the code a little bit so that it can work with plugins. And the reason I want to do plugins is because I think people will want to contribute, and there are certain things that I can't do legally, like working with foreign exchanges. So like if we ever want to change this application to not only send out these alerts and kind of repurpose the alerts, but if we want to change it to actually trade, we could actually set up an interface for a plugin so that when we get this alert, you can just download plugins available from whoever develops them, and they would be responsible for their plugin, and maybe it hooks up to Bybit or BitMEX or whatever, or maybe there's some that'll allow you to trade based on your alert with Coinbase, something like that. And I don't imagine there'll ever be anything too complicated. If there is ever any built-in trading with this, maybe just like attempt a market order or a limit order, place a limit order for you. I don't really plan to have this like manage a position. That's a lot of work. I've created trading bots, very, very complicated trading bots, and I don't want to do that. That's a lot of work. I've already done it before. The purpose of this application is to be very simple, user-friendly, and extendable. So it's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to make a video all about it. So this has kind of been good practice for me to go through and talk about all this stuff, and hopefully I'm not boring you to death just yet. It's getting kind of late here. How long have I been going on? Only 53 minutes. Wow. Okay. It feels like I've been talking for like 40 minutes, but ever since I started talking about this, it's only been like 20. So these are all the built-in properties that you can get on your alert that it can process, and I probably need to update some of these. I've changed some of them and removed some since. But these are all the built-in values, and I'd also like to have it to where you can use custom values. I don't know what I just heard. I think it was my dog. Oh well. So you can essentially create your own custom elements and parse out your own custom data, or maybe you can work with JSON. You can pass in JSON inside one of the elements, and you can have objects, or that can just be used to pass on for the webhook as a payload to a particular webhook. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there's also another thing with the scanning for alerts from TradingView. Now, I mentioned the screener and I mentioned the actual built-in alert system, but another thing that this can do is it'll actually be able to capture alerts from any website, and this is another thing that I think is going to be a good option for a plugin. So you can essentially use like a drop down somewhere to where you can select, what type of scan you're going to do. Are you going to be scanning TradingView stock screeners? Okay, choose the stock screener TradingView plugin and hit scan, and it'll check for alerts here. Or are you going to be doing the regular alert scan and select that plugin and you scan here? Or, since if we can design this as a plugin based interface, you could have somebody create a plugin to scan Twitter for alerts. So you'll look for post from some well-known trader, like let's say Mr. Bollinger Bands himself on Twitter posts he's gonna be buying a bunch of Bitcoin or something, and you want to catch an alert from that. You could have somebody create a plugin that searches Twitter for whenever, somebody within a list of people on Twitter posts something about buying Bitcoin, and you'll get that alert using that plugin, and it'll have to be a little bit different. You won't be able to pass in all this information, but you can essentially hard code a lot of it. And really all you're interested in on scanning for alerts like that is a ticker and what type of action. So the alert coming in from that particular instance on Twitter would be, Bitcoin, and the action would be buy. And then maybe there's other information you want to pass in for the note, such as the actual text of the tweet and the URL, maybe the actual tweet URL itself. And maybe there are some things we want to do later on for the alerts, such as make it to where there are options related to the alert to where you can actually perform different actions for it afterwards, and it doesn't automatically do it for you. That way, if you get an alert in and you're not sure whether you want the bot to process it automatically for you, then maybe you can just have a menu on each of these items for the alerts and select what you want it to do. Whew. Okay, I've been going on for a while now. I think I'm done. I'm not really going to do anything else right now. That's been an awful lot of stuff to go over here in the last hour or so. But I will be publishing those changes that I made to the fancy Bollinger Bands indicator soon. So hopefully you all enjoyed the live stream. I'm trying to get a little bit more practice at these because I'm hopefully going to be able to do these a little bit more here in the future and be able to interact with you all a little bit more, and possibly also on TradingView as well, post some there. But that will be it for now. Yeah, so like the rest of my videos, thank you, and have a good night, because it's actually really late here. So night everyone. I will talk to you all another time.